Good evening, everybody, and welcome to another casual conversation with Naomi Havens and Tim Havens.
Hello.
Past years, we've actually done several type of podcasts. But tonight is going to be one where we reference one we did back in 2023. It's called Mindset. Mindset describes where we went from the very beginning and what we had to do to transform into a more healthy diet. We're going to be continuing the conversation on mindset of the different changes and what we've learned in the since these past 2 years. So the last we did in 2023, we're going to do the past 2 years. Okay?
Okay, and this podcast on mindset was inspired by a conversation I had recently, and the person involved has a child that is extremely ill, and a lot of it, I believe, is coming from their gut. And so, they've been in the hospital and weren't able to figure out what was going on. And so Tim and I have learned about super gut with Dr.
William Davis.
Dr. William Davis. And Tim is finding a lot of answers to some of his issues, and I'm still experimenting with it, but I know that yogurt is a really good thing, and that's what this is all about.
Let me go ahead and put this in a note. First of all, we're not talking about yogurt.
No, we're not.
Talking about yogurt at the grocery store. We're talking about taking a recipe and a probiotic and expanding the size or the amount from 10 billion CFUs to 300 billion CFUs, so it becomes more effective. And so we're not talking we're talking about focused yogurts or focused actually fermented dairy.
Right, and it's something that we do here in our home, and it's extremely easy. But anyways, I had suggested this to this person that she try that with her daughter. And this friend is very knowledgeable in nutrition and health and things like that. and also has a what did I call it? A therapist background. And so, she knows a lot about the body and nutrition and things like that. And so her response was, okay, well, the child is very picky, and I'll try. And I suggested that they do it like a family science project for 30 days. And everybody keep a food journal and talk about, in the journal, each person would write down what they had to eat, and then they would write down how their body was being affected by that food. And so, she said, okay, I'll try. That got me to thinking, even though she's got this medical background and this nutrition background, if the allopathic doctor prescribes a medication, which I believe that this daughter is on some of those, if the doctor prescribes something like that, does the child have a choice? Or are they told, the doctor said you need to do this? Well, the mom and I know food as medicine, so why isn't the food used the same way? Because it's probiotics. And the mom said that she's very much into that, and understands the need for probiotics. But why is it that takes a lower precedence over the pharmacy prescribed pills? So this is something that just got me started thinking, and Tim and I've been having a conversation about it. And like he said, we did do a mindset podcast 2 years ago on where we were now 25 years ago when we started on this journey. So we're just going to continue and add to that a little bit. Did you want to add anything?
Well, sure. The mindset is a process of getting to ourselves to to recognize in ourselves the paths we are taking, one we are presently on, and what we need to be changing to. It's a mindset. In the past, what we've talked about in the mindset was we couldn't afford it. We couldn't do this because, and we came up with excuses. The problem is that why are we still stuck in our mindset with what the allopathic and even the holistic doctors tell us to do? And actually, we can actually create our own health reversal very accurately if we take time to go ahead and do what it takes personally, and then also to make decisions to turn away from our understanding and mindsets.
It involves being willing to learn new things, and a lot of times it's things that maybe other people don't adhere to. And I know that, I was in the daughter's situation 25 years ago when we started making changes, and I was looking at recipes from people who had healed naturally that I was trying to learn from. And I say on our last video that I was thinking, ew, these things are from Mars, disgusting. But we have come full circle on that and found that that's what really is helping us. So what that also got me to thinking about is that I grew up military, and Tim is retired military, and we were married the whole time he was in the military. My family is international. His mom was Hungarian. And so, there is a lot of traditions and food choices
And customs.
and customs that the average American who just goes to McDonald's or Burger King may not be open to. And I have actually met some of those people that, in fact, when we lived in Germany, there was a military spouse who came over and spent the whole day at the local Burger King or whatever it was, and was not willing to go out into the German restaurants and try anything different. And but yet, you know, most of us, when we go places like that, are willing to go out and meet the locals, meet the internationals. And some of my best memories are both when I lived in Japan as a child and in Germany, and we got together with the locals. My family, and me growing up as a child, we got to learn about Japanese weddings. We got to learn so much. In fact, friends of my family took us to the bottom of Mount Fuji, that their company owned a resort there, and we got to spend several days there and just really get to know the people and know some of their customs and some of their foods. And we absolutely love eating Japanese food. And then German, the same thing. And actually my background is German and Polish, and so, you know, we absolutely love, and we've been able to visit Poland as well and learn some of the culture. And Tim's mom, like I say, was Hungarian, and so, you know, we've got an international taste buds.
But why don't we go ahead and take advantage of the environments we have, or the information we have? Now, we got several things going on here with our mindset, okay?
Can I just put something in there?
Feel free.
Okay, so I'm talking about these customs, these international customs, the music, the foods, the celebrations that, you know, they don't have Thanksgiving like we do in the United States, but they've got other things. And why are we open to those? But when it comes to health, we don't have that same mindset.
Exactly, we don't. And why don't we? Well, for one thing, it's convenience. Convenience. It's easier to go to a McDonald's window or go to a grocery store. In fact, I had commented to Naomi a while back. I said, why is it that the advertisements and what we see on TV and what we are programmed to do is to go to the grocery store? I mean, years ago, our grandparents, they went, we had foods and vegetables they picked up at the farmer's market, and they
grew their own.
Yes, that's true. And they went and fermented their foods and didn't use refrigeration. Guess what? Because they didn't have refrigeration. They shifted to that, which caused other issues. But the idea transferred, or actually I'm trying to figure out a word here, moved us out of growing our own foods, moved us out of going after what we could do to take care of ourselves with our food, to go to the grocery store.
And depending on somebody else.
That's right, depending on somebody else. Why is it that we don't think about our own health? We go to a quote-unquote health professional, which are licensed by the pharmaceutical companies, and they are not licensed by the state. The pharmaceutical companies own, and just think about all the commercials we see on TV and the magazines. They own us.
Well, and talking about commercials, look at all the movies that come out. There have been so many movies that come out about somebody being sick, and I can pretty much spot, even at the beginning of the movie, I can pretty much spot that the person is dealing with cancer, and it's always presented in the allopathic community, in the allopathic viewpoint. And there are several of us who have tried to have natural health journeys and natural cancer surviving journeys highlighted or showcased in these movies, and we get turned down all the time.
The reason being is because guess who finances or bankrolls the movies? Well, they bankroll the TV and commercials. They bankroll the news. They bankroll the Super Bowl games. So what do you think they're going to do about our movies? They're bankrolling it. And
Right.
they're programming us and brainwashing us in that regard.
You know, the TVs, the channels are called channeling for a reason, and the programming, the programs, you get a list of programs and the schedule for those programs. They're named programs for a reason.
You are literally programmed in sports, commercials, radio, tabloids, 24/7 to only trust drugs and vaccines. And that I find it disgusting and evil. The whole pharmaceutical industry is trying to convince you that what God created here and in nature isn't good enough. You need man's science to make you healthy and keep you healthy. No, that is them selling you something. It's called marketing.
And the spirit behind that is the pharmakia.
And the pharmakia, what is the definition of the word pharmakia? You'll read it in Revelations 18:23. Pharmakia in Greek, in its original form, literally translates to witchcraft and sorcery. The word pharmakia is the modern English word you hear now as pharmacy and pharmaceuticals.
So the reason, what we're trying to divulge here is what we've seen over the years in regards to how we're being brainwashed in convenience, brainwashed in everything we do, and we've been forced away from what God has been telling us to do. Daniel 1:8 says,
Daniel purposed in his heart that he would not defile himself with the king's offerings.
now, the king's offerings, we don't know what they were, but they were not vegetables, okay? And don't think that we're adhering to a vegetarian diet. We're discovering that it's a combination of many things and not one focus on a diet. In fact, I'm beginning to find out that we have a missing link of microbiome in our body that's making the food for us, and we just completely missed it altogether. We just don't have microbiome in our gut. We have it in our brain. We have it in our liver. We have it in our intestines, of course, and we have it in every part of our body. In fact, here's the interesting. If you're suffering from foot fungus or nail fungus, guess what's happening to our lakes? They are spraying glyphosate all in the area around, and it's going into the lakes, and guess what's happening? The algae is growing to compensate for the lack of oxygen. So why is that fungus growing? The same thing that's happening in us. We've got glyphosate in our bodies, and the fungus is growing, trying to reverse that. That's a different subject, but the idea is we're pervasive, and we're being invaded and moved away even more. So back to you,
Well,
Naomi.
and we're being invaded with our mindset through the programming that happens.
Yes.
And you know, Tim just recently was talking to somebody and talking to them about some suggestions for their health and asking, well, why don't you do that certain thing? And the person responded with, because it's too radical.
That's an important fact, important idea. We are doing what God wanted us to do, and they're considering it radical. There's
Right.
two reasons for it. Because it's so foreign to us that we think it's unusual, barbaric, or radical. In reality, it's what God intended us. Now, the person I was speaking to was about a habit getting into our grandparents did all the time.
Right.
And so when I suggested to him, and he did not go forward on it, I suggested months later, I suggested another process, and I said, why did you grasp a hold of this one rather than the original one that we talked about. And he goes, because what you were offering is radical, my friend. It is not radical. It's what we need to be doing to reverse our health.
Right, and we've been called radical quite a bit because we follow what's going to heal us.
Yes, and that is radical, because the allopathic hospitals don't want to heal you.
Right.
And that
right.
when they talk about, they don't want to talk about healing. They want to talk about maintenance.
Right, and that's the thing too, is that this child is back in the hospital that originally, I was talking about at the beginning of this, is back in the hospital, and they are not looking for a root cause. They're just doing all kinds of tests, and initially they couldn't figure out from all the tests what was going on. They're not looking for the root cause. And in my training as a naturopathic health coach, I'm learning that everything starts in the gut. So we've got to look at what's going on. We've got to look at diet. Emotions play a big role in this.
I want to break in here real quick. We used the words testing, and the allopathic doctors and hospitals couldn't figure out what was going on. We have a video that we welcome you to watch. It is about, we actually posted, or actually interviewed Judy Ryan,
Right.
and she talks about how the efforts of testing on her got to a point where the parents said, stop.
Right, and you can see that podcast on our Rumble channel. It's the Judy Ryan interview, and her situation happened when she was 17 years old, and it's been 48 years ago now, and she still deals with the effects of that, the repercussions of that. Yes,
Okay.
Hello, Levitical Kingdom Privateers. On September the 12th and 13th, we are hosting the first annual Holy Nation of the Ecclesia Conference. The theme is Threshold Covenant, with great worship brought to us by the Woodcock Singers, a great MC known as Plain Flyer 21, speakers like Dr. Mike Spalding, Jim Odell, Randy Conway, C2K Rick, and our keynote speaker, the world-renowned Vicki Joy Anderson. And don't miss a very special and world-altering Friday night event that will equip you for what is coming. Admission is free for our naturalized families and very affordable for our guests. Head over to c2kreport.com and scroll down on the homepage to find our link to purchase tickets for your friends and family. And remember, it's all about the blood.
We're also learning that not only is it what we put in our mouths, it's not only our emotions, but we are also learning about how we are, what's the word that I want to use?
Electric?
We are electric. And if you think about it, how many of you get an EKG? Do you know what the EKG is? Electrocardiogram.
Yeah, there you go.
And it's a way of what do I want to say here?
Measuring electronics.
Measuring the electronics in our body.
Oh, electrical impulses.
Electrical impulses, yeah. And we have learned about kinesiology, where you do muscle testing for foods and stuff like that. That is also testing for the vibrations in our bodies. Everything vibrates. Even this desk that we're sitting at is vibrating. We don't feel it, but it does. And so those all play a role in it as well. there's multiple doctors, and I'm going to be sharing some video clips and things like that from multiple doctors. That these are MDs, and one guy started out as a, was it called, an ophthalmologist, and he was doing surgeries on cataracts and had his own personal health crisis. And you know what? His health crisis started when he was wearing a mask working on surgery for one of his patients. And the virus that the patient was dealing with went through the mask that he was wearing as a surgeon, and it entered his brain and caused a lot of issues, and he was not getting help through, he had the money to go to the best doctors, but was not getting any help. The tests kept coming back, you're fine, you're fine, you're fine. And so he started doing his own research and started looking at even like Eastern medicines. And the Eastern medicines really do follow what Yahweh, they follow more of what Yahweh designed our bodies to do than what the Western medicine does. And so I've got a small little clip that I'm going to be sharing about that.
As I try to explain to you how I came to be sitting in this chair visiting with you. So I'm trained as an ophthalmologist, love doing ophthalmology, was primary cataract surgeon, but I also did the majority of the research for the laser that's used in LASIK surgery for the company called Visex. Had a great deal of fun doing that research. But one of the things we didn't understand at the time was that the laser wouldn't kill viruses. So I was using the laser to carve a scar off of the surface of the cornea of a fellow that had leukemia. Well, as I was carving the scar off, it released the viruses from his cornea, went up through my mask into my nose and into my brain, and I developed encephalitis. Now, as you'll understand later as we discuss some of these things, I wouldn't have gotten the encephalitis had I not had a root canal in the tooth that's in the circuit that provides power for the brain, particularly the frontal lobes of the brain. And so that voltage was low in that part of my brain, which allowed the virus to have its way with me. So what happened to me then is I got extreme fatigue. I got to where I could see a patient and know what was wrong with them, but I couldn't remember how to write a prescription. And I also developed spastic movements. So I would be sitting there and do something like that, which doesn't work really well if you're operating inside of an eyeball. And so for all those reasons, I had to quit ophthalmology in November of 1995. So I went to the best doctors I could find, went to the head of the Division of Immunology at the NIH. I went to the head of corneal immunology in Boston. And they all said, well, you have 3 viruses in your brain. Good luck. We don't know what to do about it. So don't call us. We'll call you. So I'm home, I'm sleeping 16 hours a day for approximately 7 years. And during the day, I had 2 or 3 hours a day in which I could understand a newspaper, and then like a light switch would go off and I couldn't understand it anymore. That most things that we do in medicine and most things that we do in integrative medicine are simply things that make you feel a little bit better, but don't get to the root cause. The majority of the practice of medicine these days is corporate. Mm-hmm. And so doctors work for corporations because there are very few individual practitioners anymore. And so the corporations are all about making money. And so a doctor who's handing out prescriptions for pills generates a lot more income for their employer than somebody who's taken time to figure out which of their circuits are out and fix those, et cetera. And so most corporate medical practices don't allow their physicians to do this kind of medicine. And that's what makes it difficult.
Well, we're seeing more and more doctors now with integrity and honesty stepping away even from their profession for that reason. So hopefully that's going to create a new wave of true healers and practitioners who are there to actually provide true healing.
Yeah, so, this whole field of integrative medicine or functional medicine or holistic medicine, whatever you want to call it, is a move in that direction. But even within our group of integrative medicine docs, you see that many of them often focus on the things that generate more income into their practice and don't take the time to look at what's the real root cause of why this patient's sick. And so there's a resistance even within our integrative medicine group to take the time to find the root cause of things.
Andrew Kaufman, Dr. Andrew Kaufman, even I'll share a clip on that, talks about the complications that are not necessary and how we really need to be going back to the way our ancestors took care of our health conditions and things like that. So, did you have anything else?
I was going to read this Andrew Kaufman,
Okay.
MD, print it out here. This
Go
is
ahead.
very interesting.
Mhm.
This is from medical doctor Andrew Kaufman. The medical system in a nutshell. It often starts with a questionable diagnosis that sets off a chain of unnecessary interventions. These treatments can create new complications, sometimes leaving the patient critically ill. In some cases, before death is even confirmed, organs are harvested. What began as a routine checkup recommended by insurance can end in irreversible harm. Tragic? Yes. Rare? Not really. And this is from Andrew Kaufman, MD. His advice, think twice before going for an annual exam.
And this little girl that we talked about at the beginning, she's the second child in 3 weeks that I personally know that has ended up in the hospital. And just like Andrew Kaufman says, that they're going through more and more and more and more and more testing. And the insurance dictates what happens, and the more testing they get, the more money the hospital receives from the insurance companies. And I think we have seen some of that over the last 5 years during quarantine and that whole debacle that went on during that time. And I know that people argue with me, but this is coming from the mouths of medical doctors who have been at it for 30, 40 years. It's not just coming from me, a naturopathic health coach. It's coming from these who have been at it for a very, very long time.
Now I'm going to read this here. Where did you get this from? Who speaks this?
Dr. Group shared that part.
This is from Dr. Group.
Dr.
Group,
Edward Group.
Dr. Group, he is a doctor of chiropractic. He shared something that I like to read. A society that keeps cures a secret in an effort to sell medications for huge profits is not a civilized society. It is a mental institution ruled over by psychopaths.
Right.
Now, this broadcast or this podcast wasn't so much of solutions. This is a wake-up call.
Right. We're just asking you, like if you went to another country and you got involved with the internationals like we do. And the United States is full of transplanted internationals. Too many of us have incorporated the American way of life and foods and lifestyle and stuff like that. But if we go back to the older people in a lot of those countries, then we learn things that, like I say, new customs, new foods. We hear new music that we haven't heard before. We learn about celebrations. So we're just asking you to make that same consideration about your health. Be open to those kind of things.
Right. Thank you so much.
And we are here to help you. And you know, we have been through the maze of information. And when we did it, we did not have the internet like we have today. And even though we have the internet, it can still be confusing. So we are here to help you walk through the maze and find the root cause of your health situation, and then to customize a path specifically for you. And we walk with you through it. Like we say, we have a weekly, we offer a weekly wellness group, which is kind of a check-in time, to be able to walk through some of what you're going through and have more discussion.
There's so many innocent people in the cult who don't see the spiritual component. They don't see the connections because they've been lied to and brainwashed their whole lives.
Every aspect of medicine, every industry of medicine, if you see an ambulance, what's the logo on the side of the ambulance?
That snake around that pole.
What is the symbol of the American Medical Association?
Is that snake again?
A serpent around the pole.
Yeah, I never got that. I was like, what is this?
What is the World Health Organization's logo? It's the whole earth with a target over it and a serpent. So
symbols matter.
And symbols matter. And if you go on the World Health Organization's website right now, they actually have a frequently asked questions section, and it says, where did the logo come from? You should read the paragraph. It actually states that the serpent around the staff is a symbol of the cult of Asclepius, which is a Greek god, and it actually reads, this symbol represents the cult of Asclepius and stems from him because he led a cult, I'm quoting, their cult worshipped snakes.
Thank you for listening to our podcast.
Thank you for listening. Yes, this is Yahweh Wafrika
Ecclesia Foundation. Also, Rumble is looking for interaction with us, not just a thumbs up. So we're looking for your interaction too.
Please feel free to comment. Yes.
Please feel free. But if you are advertising for yourself and your company, we are going to delete it. We are looking for people who are actually interested in healing themselves. We are not looking for somebody who is trying to recruit us for their business.
Thank you so much.
Thank you, and have a wonderful rest of your year.